June 6, 1944, D-Day. Canadian Sherman tanks and infantry land on Juno Beach in Normandy under murderous fire.
There were so bloody much tanks burning that you were just in a bloody jungle.
You saw one of your tanks in front of you hit. You didn't know what was happening. You kept going, you kept going.
The Canadians overwhelmed the Germans' coastal defenses and advanced inland.
I thought, wow, this is a breeze. We'll be on our way to Berlin next week.
Only to come turret to turret with the most ruthless killers in the German army. The Panzers of the battle-hardened SS.
There was really no need to fear a Sherman. They were easy opponents for us.
This is armored warfare at its bloodiest. The Battle of Normandy.
Finally, I said, fire.
Juno Beach. 8 kilometers of gently sloping shoreline along the coast of Normandy. In the late spring of 1944, this was one of the beaches where the greatest amphibious operation in history took place. The Allies' all-out attack on Hitler's Atlantic Wall. Since the fall of France in 1940, the Germans have been preparing for the inevitable Allied invasion. Building a 5,000-kilometer chain of fortifications stretching from Norway to the Spanish border. This Atlantic Wall is considered impregnable, with kilometers of concrete bunkers, tens of thousands of mines and anti-tank obstacles, and protected by over 3,000 big guns. This impressive defensive line seems a most unlikely place for an attack, but on June 6, 1944, that's exactly what the Allies do. At 0300 hours, a force tens of thousands of men strong approaches the Norman coast and unleashes a massive naval bombardment.
All of a sudden, they started firing. There was a British cruiser right behind us, and these 6-inch guns fired right over our heads. And my God, a 6-inch gun when it fires. My shirt went up my back like a window blind. Scared the hell out of me.
You could see it falling on the towns way up in front of you and pounding all over the place.
Operation Overlord is a joint Allied attack, and the Canadian objective is 8 kilometers of heavily defended coast, codenamed Juno Beach. Leading the assault is the 2nd Canadian Armored Brigade. Their mission? Neutralize the German defenses and secure a beachhead for the infantry. At 0800 hours, the Canadians launch their attack, and leading the way are scores of amphibious tanks.
They gave us all the basic training of preserving a tank in the water. We did the drill. Let the water come up and so on. Don't get panicked. First man that gets out is the driver. Stands on the back after you got to steer this bloody thing, see?
The DD, or swimming tank, has a sealed lower hull to keep it from sinking, and it gains extra buoyancy from high canvas skirts. But its most unique feature is its duplex drive, twin propellers that push it along at a speed of almost 4 knots. The DD is an ungainly 30-ton monster and is slow and hard to maneuver in rough seas.
The skipper said, okay, we're going on the run-in, be prepared, and in we went. course, it's an awkward bloody thing to steer because it doesn't work very well in the tide and the wind, and it was an awfully rough day.
The 5-kilometer run into Juno Beach is harrowing and lethal. High waves sink the tanks, as do underwater mines. As they near shore, they come within range of the Germans' well-placed guns. Of the 67 tanks launched from the landing craft, 11 never reach shore. Those that do have to lower the canvas skirts under heavy fire before bringing their guns into action.
There was confusion. It looked like chaos. And there were a lot of vehicles, but they were all moving as they were supposed to.
During the first hours of the battle, the Canadians lose hundreds of men and 19 tanks.
I saw Canadians lying on the beach, some of them with stuff thrown over them.
Despite their losses, they overrun the German defenses and take Juno Beach. By the end of D-Day, the Allies have breached Hitler's Atlantic Wall along 80 kilometers of Normandy coastline and have begun their advance inland. Their strategy is to encircle and destroy the German forces in occupied France. The Americans are to swing west, while British and Canadian forces head south toward their next objective, the strategically important city of Caen. But scarcely have the tanks of the 2nd Canadian Armored Brigade rolled off the beach when they encounter a new kind of peril, the picturesque Normandy landscape. It's a maze of narrow fields, 5-meter-high hedgerows, and sunken lanes. A tanker's nightmare. Maneuvering a tank through this is difficult and dangerous. This is nothing like the wide open desert of North Africa or the steppes on the Eastern Front. In Normandy, the fighting is at close range, making surprise absolutely vital.
The first idea you get is, for Christ's sake, get out in the field and start moving.
Suddenly, you're up against the Normandy hedge, which is 14 feet high. It's on a 2-foot-high bank. You go crashing through it. And you go down into a sunken road 4 feet deep. You go across the road and you're into another Normandy hedge.
Very difficult to get into and very difficult to get out of. And you can get hung up in the hedge and you're totally vulnerable at that point. But if you don't have a plan, you'll get nailed. Because the enemy always has a plan.
D-Day +1. Despite the difficult terrain, Canadian tankers of the 2nd Armored Brigade make steady progress towards Caen. And as the battle enters its second day, they encounter a column of 9 German Panther tanks. The Panther is considered one of the best tanks